This is the Recycling, Scrap Metal, Commodities, and Economic Report, August 18, 2025. U.S. weekly raw steel production fell to 1.726 million tons, up 4.3% from last year and up 1.2% year to date. Production was held by the 50% steel tariffs, but down because of the slow U.S. economy. WTI crude oil price fell to $63.14 a barrel, as a Ukrainian-Russian possible deal could bring more Russian oil on the market. Also, on slow Chinese factory growth and increased OPEC Plus production, which is keeping prices down. U.S. weekly crude oil production rose to 13.327 million barrels per day, which remains near the record high. Lower prices have U.S. producers cautious of overproduction. The U.S. weekly crude oil rig count rose to 412, but it's remaining near the 4-year low. New wells break-even is about $60 to $80 a barrel, so drillers are remaining cautious. Scrap steel number 1 HMS price composite was steady at $311.67 a gross ton, on a good balance of supply and demand. Hot rolled coil steel price fell to $41.30 a hundredweight, which is $8.26 a ton, despite the 50% steel tariffs due to soft demand. Copper price rose slightly to $4.48 a pound on good demand and supply concerns out of Chile. Aluminum price fell slightly to $1.18 a pound, which is $26.04 a metric ton on lower supply, but lower demand. U.S. July producer prices, which are wholesale prices, surged by 3.3% versus last year. Services rose by a huge 1.1% versus June, yet tariff-related goods were actually less at 0.7%. Core producer price inflation, which excludes food and energy, jumped to 3.7% versus last year. U.S. July annual core consumer inflation, again excluding the volatile food and energy inflation. This is also called CPI. It rose 3.1%, the steepest level in 5 months. The good news is lower gasoline prices kept headline CPI at just 2.7%, but dragging out the tariffs has higher prices building versus a one and done. U.S. August U of M consumer sentiment dropped to 58.6 as there were inflation and future job concerns. Also, the current conditions index deteriorated. U.S. July retail sales were slower at 3.9% versus last year. Motor vehicles and furniture grew the most. U.S. July manufacturing production expanded by 1.4% versus last year, the sharpest increase since October 2022. But the average increase from 1920 to 2025 was 3.5%. So 1.4% is better than June, but not great. Wall Street's Dow Jones Industrial Average rose a big 770 points to 44,946 on Berkshire Hathaway's United Health investment. The market is near a record high as the slowing economy could mean lower interest rates. Note that huge and increasing federal government spending and AI spending is helping the economy. This is Greg Brown. As always, feel free to call or email with any questions, and we hope all have a safe and profitable week.